There are minds in this world that don't crave attention. They don't chase applause, they don't perform for the crowd. And yet, their very silence makes people uncomfortable. This kind of mind doesn't live in the surface-level noise that most people call life. It sinks into the depths. It questions everything. It observes everything. While the rest of the world scrolls, talks, shouts, and reacts, the deep thinker watches. He doesn't just think, he sees. And what he sees often sets him apart, because once you see clearly, you don't fit in anymore. This mind doesn't move with speed, it moves with precision. It doesn't jump from one thing to the next. It lingers, it probes, it reflects. Like a shadow cast by a dying sun, it is unseen, inevitable, and impossible to stop. While others crave stimulation, he craves clarity. While they chase comfort, he seeks truth, even when the truth is ugly, even when it hurts. Most people avoid discomfort like it's poison, but the deep thinker moves straight toward it, because he knows that behind discomfort is insight, and insight doesn't come cheap. His solitude is not loneliness. It is a kind of sanctuary, a sacred silence where his thoughts can breathe. He doesn't isolate because he's bitter. He isolates to preserve his mind in a world designed to fragment it. He doesn't think for praise. He thinks because he can't help it. His brain won't shut off. It doesn't want small talk. It wants the foundations. It wants to understand the roots of things, not just the symptoms. And this kind of thinking, it makes life harder, because the deeper you go, the more alone you become. Carl Jung once said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order. The deep thinker doesn't run from chaos, he sits inside it. And slowly, painfully, he finds the pattern underneath. He pulls apart the lies people live by. He questions the values that were handed to him. He sees through the social masks, the fake confidence, the scripted conversations, the hollow rituals. And he knows, most people don't want to be awake. They just want to be comfortable." So he drifts, further and further. Because the more awake you become, the less you relate to the sleeping. People think he's cold. They call him detached, arrogant, intense. But intensity isn't arrogance, and detachment isn't apathy. To the deep thinker, emotions aren't chains. They are data. They are signals, not rulers. They are meant to be understood, not obeyed blindly. This isn't emotional numbness, it's emotional mastery. His mind is a cathedral, built from questions no one else is willing to ask. He doesn't settle for the easy answer. He wants the real one, even if it breaks him. Because the truth to him is not optional, it's sacred. To think deeply in this world is to become a threat, not because you want power, but because you can't be manipulated. You stop believing the headlines, you stop playing the social game, you stop letting your thoughts be shaped by the crowd. You don't follow, you don't submit, you see. And that vision makes you dangerous. In a time where people confuse speed for intelligence and loudness for confidence, the deep thinker is something else entirely. He's the stillness in the storm, the one who doesn't react. He calculates. He moves quietly. He speaks rarely. But when he does, his words land like truth bombs, because he doesn't talk to impress. He talks to reveal. And that's where his power lives. In the silence, in the solitude, in the depth that most people fear too much to enter. To live as a deep thinker is to live with a kind of invisible weight. It's not the weight of physical labor, it's the weight of perception. Because once you start to see through things, you can't unsee them. You can't go back to small talk, to pretending, to laughing at jokes that aren't funny or nodding at ideas that feel like poison. You feel everything more. You question everything more. And when most people say just go with the flow, you're wondering who built the river. Before we go further, if you've ever felt this kind of inner distance from the world, if you've ever been the one sitting quietly in a loud room, feeling everything but saying nothing, if you've been told you're too intense or too quiet or too serious, that's not a flaw. It means you were built for something deeper. So if this resonates, subscribe, comment, like this video. Let the algorithm know that depth still matters. Let's build a space where minds like ours aren't drowned out by noise. Back to the mind. The deep thinker often feels disconnected, not because they're broken, but because the world is addicted to the surface. People mistake his silence for rudeness. They think he's cold, when really, he's just tired of pretending. He sees the layers in everything. The motives behind the words, the wounds behind the smiles, the fear behind the pride. And once you see that clearly, the usual scripts of human interactions start to feel empty. This is why many deep thinkers struggle in relationships. They crave depth, but the world rewards presentation. They want truth, but most people are trained to trade in convenience. They feel the hollowness behind "how's it going?" They sense the fear behind "I'm fine." They pick up on the tension that no one else wants to name. It's not that they don't want connection. It's that most connections feel false unless they're rooted in something real. And real is rare, so they retreat. Not because they hate people, but because constant interaction without meaning is like eating food with no nutrients. You're full, but starving. So they protect their time. They guard their energy. They say no more often than they say yes, not to be rude, but to survive. The deep thinker builds an inner world so rich, so detailed, so expansive, that most people could not even comprehend it if they tried. It's a world shaped by hours of reflection, by books that weren't assigned, by thoughts that kept him awake at 3 a.m. And in that world, he becomes powerful. Not in the way society defines power, not loud, not dominant, not flashy, but in the way that actually matters. He becomes centered, clear, unshakable. Look at history. Leonardo da Vinci, obsessed with the mechanics of life, dissecting corpses not for fame but for understanding. Tesla, years ahead of his time, living in isolation, dismissed by the world he helped build. They weren't just thinkers, they were obsessed, haunted by questions no one else dared to ask. And society? It ignored them, mocked them, used them. Until decades later, when the world finally caught up. That's the fate of many deep thinkers, to be seen too late, to be understood only in retrospect, because when you're ahead of your time, you look wrong to people stuck in the present. But here's the truth. You don't need to be understood. You need to be real. You need to stay loyal to that depth, even when it isolates you. Because while the world is busy performing, you're transforming. While they're chasing applause, you're chasing clarity. And that clarity, it may cost you everything shallow, but it will give you everything real. There's a quiet rebellion in this, a refusal to be absorbed by the algorithm, by the trends, by the shallow metrics of success. You stop living for impressions and you start living for truth. To be a deep thinker is to accept the paradox. You will feel more but be understood less. You will know more but be believed less. You will carry wisdom but be mistaken for weakness. And still, you keep going, because the path is worth it, even if you walk it alone. Let them misunderstand you, let them call you intense, let them say you're too much. You were never meant for the shallow end. You were built for the depths. The world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, it will tell you, bis Carl Jung. But the deep thinker already knows. He doesn't need the world to name him. He's already watching, silently, patiently, from a place most people will never reach.